Hey, good morning, guys. Today we're going to be covering finding slope and we're going to be covering linear inequalities. So for today's assignment, we're going to be covering the most important stuff. For example, question number one, rate of change. Students, rate of change, it's asking you for your slope. So here we go. So what you need to know, rate of change is slope. Now comes the question, how do you find slope? The way you find slope, guys, is the difference in y over the difference of x. So to find the differences, we got to find at least 2 points, right? I'm going to use the first 2 points. From the x's, from -2 to 0, that is an increase of 2. From 8 to 3, that is a decrease of 5. Then the difference in y being -5, the difference of x being 2, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is your answer. Now, if you're looking at this carefully, there's an error. So obviously this is my answer, ignore C. Now let's look at number 2. Number 2 is the same thing. Once again, this time they told you slope. So 2 points, here are my points. Make a table. This is x values, this is your y values. This is 5 and 4, this is 6 and 12. And let's begin. From 5 to 6, that is an increase of 1. And from 4 to 12, that's an increase of 8. The difference in y over the difference of x is going to be 8 over 1. 8 divided by 1 is 8. D. So of course, go ahead and pause the video, record this because this is going on your packet, guys, and let's continue. Now, if you look at these questions right here, guys, they're graphs, right? But the same thing applies. If you read this carefully, it tells you what type of function it is, which is a linear. And if you look, once again, rate of change. Rate of change, guys, every time you hear rate of change, and especially rate of change, you only need 2 points. Do not focus on anything else. So if I look at the 2 points, here's a point right there, which is 0 and 50. So I'm going to say 0, comma 50. And the next one is 1, comma 150. Once you have that, you set up your table. The difference, let me make that a little bigger. Pardon me, guys, that looks real ugly. It's the difference of x and y shortly. So 0, 50, 1, 150. Increase of 1, increase of 100. Then the differences is 100 over 1. Your answer is 100. And this is a griddable, guys. And finished. Now, if you look at number 4, it's the same thing. So I'm just go ahead and skip it and let's continue. Let's see what else we have. Scroll down. Perfect. Sorry about that. Question number 5. This is the only one that is different, especially for finding slope. So it's telling us the function of y equals 3.75 plus 1.5 times x minus 1 can be used to describe the cost in dollars for a taxi ride of x miles. What is the rate of change of the cost with respect to the number of miles? Guys, in this question, the answer is, of course, your slope, right? So you need to think back to this. Now, if you look at this one, it should somewhat resemble, you guys, this equation. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, your mom's ex-boyfriend. And if you notice, m is your slope, right? When that's what we're going to identify. So if you notice, the slope will always be next to your x, always. If you look at this certain question, here it is, because if you distribute, you already got your answer right there. So 1.5. It will always be right next to it, guys. Go ahead and pause and write this in your notes. Let's continue. Then comes linear inequalities. That is it for slope, guys. It's that straightforward. So when looking at the rest, let me make sure. Let's continue right here. Inequalities, guys. You need to know the following information. So let me make this as quick as I can. Greater than, less than. You are dealing with a dashed line. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, you're dealing with a solid line, right? Then comes the shading. Greater than or equal to, you are dealing with above. You're going to be shading above. Less than or equal to, you are shading below. So these are your concepts. This is going to help you answer these questions in less than a minute. Let's go ahead and find out what our answers. So let me go ahead and erase, guys. Copy this. You're going to need this. Here we go. Next questions come as followed. Here it is, question number 1. In question number 1, it's saying is which graph best represents that equation? Guys, the only thing you need to look at is your inequality. You have less than or equal to. Just knowing this, you know it is a solid line and you are shading below. So let's go ahead and find out. This is a dash line. Incorrect. Dash line. So it's one of these two. Then comes the shading. Which one is shaded below? Which one is shaded above? If you look at C, if it's a negative slope, the left side is the below, the right side is above. So this is your answer. If you look at this one, this is a zero slope. And what's above it, that's the shading. So keyword being above, that's not my answer. My answer is C. Let's go to number 2. Question number 2. Give me 1 second, guys. And question 2. You need to do the shading your own. You need to plot the points in the graph and find out where exactly is located, right? So we have the slope of 1 over 3x plus 4. So whenever you get a question like this, y-intercept is the first point you plot in the graph. And then you go ahead and graph the slope. So it's a slope of 1 over 3, so 1, 3. This is my rise. This is my run. Now, why is it a rise? Because it's a positive slope. So from here, go up 1, 1, 2, 3. Go up 1. Go up 1. And so forth. To get the bottom points, you do the opposite. Now you go down 1, 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 1, 2, 3. Once again, down 1, 1, 2, 3. Then you look at your inequality. We know it's a solid line and we're going to be shading above. So here I go. Don't judge my line connecting, but it should be something like this. Of course, guys, it is important. Draw your arrows. The arrows say this is a continuous graph. It goes on forever. Then we're shading above. So all of this up here, guys, is shaded. Now, this question is asking you which one of these numbers or points are inside the shaded region. So you have -6 and 1. There's -6 and 1 is right there. That is not inside. You have -1 and 6. Here's -1 and 6, which will be right there. And that is definitely in the shading. Now, question number 3. Number 3 is a tricky one. On number 3, they already graphed it for you. That's awesome. But here's the thing. They didn't do the shading. So you need to be careful on this question, right? Now this one I'm going to go ahead and erase, guys, because I need to scroll down for answer choice D. So let me do that. And here it is. So on this one, we need to solve this equation. So to solve it, remember, every equation that you are trying to graph has to begin with y. And if you notice, the 2 begins. So we're going to move this over there, right? So let's go ahead and move it. Actually, let me put my inequality right here, my fault. And let's answer it. So minus 0.5x. All we're looking for is to see if we're going to be shading above or if it flips because of the dividing by a negative. So you have -2y greater than or equal to -0.5x plus 3. And right here you can pause, guys, because you want to have y by itself. If you divide by a negative, pardon about that, guys. Divide by -2 on each one. Once soon as you divide by a negative, the inequality flips. So divide by a negative, flip the sign. Right? So we're flipping it. So now it is less than or equal to. Since it is less than or equal to, that means you're going to be shading below. So all of this gets shaded. Now let's see which point. -2 and 0.5. That's up here. No can go. 2 to 1. Here's 2. Here's 2 to 1 right there. No go. 2 to -1. That will be right on the line. If you notice, it's an equals to, so it is part of the solution. So 2 comma -1. All right, let's finish up with the last one, or is that the last one? Let's check it out. On no question 4, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So of course, as instructions go as followed, make sure you guys watch the recording. If you guys have any questions or anything in general, please send me a message. You will have an assignment. I will let that be known on the teams. So expect the message from you guys and have a great rest of the day. Have a fun weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday.